Norway is committed to engage both internationally and nationally. Our engagement is what we can call the global movement for elimination of the harmful practice of female genital mutilation cutting. Now there was some discussion about what we should call this. I will continue to use that term, and hopefully it will be taken in the most positive way, which is based on and guided by the government's action plan against FGM in international development cooperation and the action plan for women's rights and gender equality in development cooperation. Those are two very important documents for Norwegian development cooperation. However, as we all know, also everybody has highlighted, FGM does not only occur in Africa and Asia, but also in Europe, including in Norway. And at the seventh day, that means last year, on zero tolerance to FGM, the Norwegian ambassador described the national action plan against FGM. The national action plan, as it has been revised several times, has taken into account lessons learned and mirrors approaches in other countries. It highlights the need for comprehensiveness and inclusiveness to bring all actors together to abandon a traditional practice that is not acceptable at all. What has proven effective in other countries may actually be effective in our countries, that means in Norway as well. Having policies and action plans both for national and international engagement, I believe, provides the opportunity to bridge actions and share experience between Norway and other countries. We could say shared challenge, shared solutions. And this year's theme is about bridging between Europe and Africa. In a world that is increasingly globalized, people cross borders, and we all bring our cultural and social norms with us as we move, which generally speaking may enrich societies. However, some do not. And I cannot talk about FGM without clearly stating that FGM and cuttings violates the human right to control over one's own body, the woman's right, and as a majority of cases are performed in children between 4 and 14 years, it also violates the right of children. Furthermore, it hinders attainment of many of the MDGs, and in particular, but not only, the health MDGs. Attainment of abandonment of FGM is crucial for the attainment of MGN 4 and 5, where the Norwegian Prime Minister is actively engaged together with the Secretary General and a wide range of actors and partners. It is a paradox that there is more knowledge and evidence about practice related to FGM and cutting in African countries than in European countries like my own. We are now trying to map the extent of the practice in Norway because we need the evidence to have effective actions and solutions. It is furthermore a paradox that there is a lot of knowledge about practices in the economic area, about remittances. However, there is limited evidence of what kind of influence on female genital mutilation practices the diaspora has on local community practices in their country of origin, and vice versa. The good results we see in many countries in Africa may also create debate and changes in our own countries. And this is actually one of the points in our national action plan. The theme of the day is also media. So there are lots of themes of this day, actually. And media has, as we all know, default behavior. It tends to focus on negative events. Stories about extreme cases make their way to the front pages in my country. Although these are surely real cases, it may actually give an impression that the practice is more frequent than it may be. It may also create prejudice to the communities and to the people in which are sort of put on the front pages. And it does not necessarily create the environment for positive change that we need. It may, in the contrary, actually result in that the practice is kept longer than we would want to see it. However, there are good examples, and I would like to just tell you all about a recent article in a very big daily newspaper in Norway that brings the experiences from communities, the good experiences of change and reduction in FGM in Africa, and about the effective community experiences from communities in Africa to the Norwegian readers. It tells the story, for instance, it takes the story from Tostan to the Norwegian readers. This is creating bridges. Now, and what about social media? Young people communicate through different kinds of social media. It has proven, generally speaking, to be a powerful instrument for change. One may expect that in countries where social media is common, it already has and will surely become an important way for communication also about this issue. And as social media becomes more common all over the world, and increasingly so in lower and lower age groups, which is affected by FGM, it has potential to be a powerful instrument for change, also when it comes to FGM. Several lessons have been learned, and as already mentioned several times, legislation is essential, as we have enacted in Norway, but not sufficient. Also, as my Dutch colleague has pointed out, FGM is a social practice, and the most promising approach is based on the theory of change, rights, and the basic principle that parents actually want the best for their children. And it was highlighted earlier here about the practice that is there on FGM is because one thinks it's best for its children. Changes need to be based on mutual trust and respect. FGM is a community practice, and it requires community transformation coming from within. Norway supports a wide range of programs through its development cooperation, one of which is a partnership with UNICEF, UNFPA, in support of their very successful community programs. And we also look forward to the establishment and the role of the new UN women in this respect. We are a member of the donor working group on FGM cutting, together with other countries like the Netherlands here, like Italy, Ireland, Australia, Switzerland, to mention some, and I think it's increasing, so I don't really have maybe the latest update. This group has increasingly become less of a typical donor group, but more of a technical policy and advocacy group. It decided in its latest meeting in The Hague that it would keep its focus on FGM, but ensure that the topic is not addressed in isolation, keep the approach towards its abandonment and social norm perspective and the broader, and make sure it is part of the broader context of violence against women and girls. This would actually ensure to keep FGM relevant within the broader issue of gender-based violence, which is high on the international agenda. There may be potential for mutual cross-fertilization, and also that it sort of keeps each other on the international agenda. The successful and now well-known experience from community-based projects on FGM may even be applied broadly in actions against gender-based violence, which is a problem in most societies. It is encouraging that changes are taking place on ground, actually even more rapidly than expected, however, not rapidly enough. This needs to be voiced loud and clear across countries and regions. It should give inspiration to continue our common efforts and to create linkages, bridges between Europe and Africa, and between countries in Africa as well, as was pointed out by an earlier speaker. And these efforts should be scaled up. We as governments, donors, civil society, and not least women themselves, or should I say ourselves, need to grasp this moment for change now. This is about harmful practices against women and children that deprive them from living full lives which should be their right. The government of Norway will continue to support constructive and effective actions to eliminate FGM. We also welcome the initiative now taken by the heads of UNFPA and UNICEF to abolish the practice in one generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You actually brought in two new issues, that is the remittance, and that at the AU we did discuss that some of the innovative funding could be from remittance, because statistics show that it's a lot of the remittance are by women and young women. And I think that we have the innovative work that Sister Fa is doing with her video, and we know that that kind of work can be spread to all the countries. You also raised the issue of social media. We know how much young people, both in Europe and in Africa, are using social media, and we can use it to reach more young people. If we're going to eliminate it within a generation, we definitely need to use the young people. And we're lucky we have a young woman here who's doing innovative work. So we can think around how do we package her work at the many regional opportunities that we'll get. At the CSW, which is going to be talking about education. And I'd like to take this opportunity to have Miss Clarisse Uoba from Burkina Faso to share with us the national experience in Burkina Faso.
Thank you, Madame Chair. Bonjour tout le monde. C'est un plaisir pour moi de parler en français parce que le fond, c'est ça aussi, c'est pouvoir se comprendre quelle que soit la langue que l'on utilise. Je voudrais remercier le comité interafricain et les différents partenaires qui nous ont permis de tenir cette réunion et remercier donc pour l'association continuelle du Burkina Faso dans cette lutte que nous avons entamée depuis longtemps et pour lequel il reste encore beaucoup à faire. Je voudrais dire que la lutte contre les FGM ne peut se faire en vase clos. Il faut une ouverture et une communication permanente entre les cultures, les sociétés, les espaces nationaux, régionaux et internationaux. En cela, pour nous, la thématique a été choisie aujourd'hui, à savoir de faire le pont entre l'Europe et l'Afrique pour atteindre la tolérance zéro en matière de FGF, est intéressant parce qu'elle pose la problématique de la lutte contre la pratique transnationale des mutilations génitales féminines. Si aujourd'hui l'Afrique est le continent le plus en vue en matière de pratique des MGF, il ne faut pas oublier que quelques siècles en arrière, dans certains États européens, on a pratiqué ce qu'on appelait la clitorectomie, qui consistait donc à supprimer le clitoris des femmes sur des considérations qui aujourd'hui ont valeur donc en Afrique, et utilisées par les familles qui les réclament et les exciseuses elles-mêmes. De nos jours, la donne a changé certainement, mais les espaces européens ouverts au monde sont devenus multiculturels et abritent des immigrés encore bien imprégnés de leur culture et traditions ancestrales, parfois néfastes pour la promotion des droits des femmes et souvent attentatoire à l'intégrité physique et psychique de ces dernières, et c'est le cas des MGF. En parlant de pont entre l'Europe et l'Afrique, je pense que le pont existe déjà. En tout cas, à notre sens, le pont existe. Il est peut-être à consolider ou à élargir, mais nous estimons que les initiatives et actions déjà entreprises dans les deux continents, à savoir africains et européens, pour lutter contre les MGS sont nombreuses et certaines ont déjà fait leurs preuves. Sans les détailler, on peut dire par exemple que l'action que mène aujourd'hui le Comité interafricain, en association avec ses partenaires tels que l'UNICEF, la présence de Mme Diop ici, constitue des ponts déjà entre les deux continents. Et à cela, il faut associer bien évidemment l'action des ONG, l'ensemble des comités, commissions et autres structures nationales ou cadres régionaux à travers le monde qui luttent contre les MGF. Pour nous, il est incontestable que pour ces actions, le rôle des médias a toujours été primordial. Car aucune lutte, aucune action promotionnelle sur le droit des femmes et de la jeune fille ne peut aboutir sans la transmission de l'information juste et à la bonne cible. En cela, le rôle joué par l'ensemble des médias, que ce soit la presse écrite, audio, télévisuelle, informatique, est pour nous à saluer et à encourager. C'est l'occasion aussi pour moi de saluer l'ancestrale transmission orale de l'information en Afrique, qui a toujours fait ses preuves, aussi bien dans une approche positive ou moins positive. Je pense notamment aux griots qui font et défont les coutumes et les traditions, soit en les magnifiant ou en les rejetant. Et c'est l'occasion pour moi de saluer notre sœur qui est là, qui nous a donné un témoignage et qui, à travers donc la musique, permet aussi de sensibiliser. Donc c'est une forme de transmission orale de l'information qui est aussi à encourager. Je dirais qu'au Burkina Faso, l'usage de ce canal endogène de transmission de l'information est un atout précieux, surtout en zone rurale où le taux d'analphabétisme est souvent important. Les médias ont toujours été au centre de la lutte contre les MGF au Burkina Faso. Ils sont les partenaires de première ligne de l'ensemble des acteurs nationaux et locaux qui œuvrent pour l'éradication de ces pratiques. Ainsi, il est organisé des discussions en langue officielle et dans les principales langues nationales du pays par la majorité des médias existants. Depuis les premiers jours de la lutte, des radios relais locaux ont été installés dans les communautés villageoises et des espaces de sensibilisation ont été initiés en étroite collaboration avec les populations locales pour convaincre les uns et les autres de l'inutilité de perpétuer des pratiques ancestrales néfastes pour la femme. Le rôle des médias dans la lutte contre les MGF est de mettre en relief les graves conséquences de ces pratiques sur les femmes et aussi aujourd'hui de sensibiliser sur la répression prévue par le Code pénal au Burkina Faso en la matière. Un code pénal qui est mis en œuvre, même si certains trouvent que cela est insuffisant. Cette sensibilisation par les médias permet de créer donc des liens entre d'autres acteurs qui luttent contre les MGF ailleurs, tels qu'en Europe par exemple, et cela se limite malheureusement toutefois encore aujourd'hui essentiellement à faire valoir les actions entreprises par des pays voisins du Burkina Faso et d'autres États africains. Pour revenir au pont existant ou à renforcer, parce que nous estimons qu'il existe déjà entre l'Afrique et l'Europe en matière de lutte contre la tolérance zéro sur les MGF, il faut également, à notre sens, considérer l'implication d'ONG européennes en Afrique comme déjà un pont considérable entre les deux continents. Reste à faire de ce canal de coopération un chemin plus large afin de donner une visibilité au niveau européen, surtout de ces actions, dans la mesure où en Afrique, de manière générale, les actions des ONG sont connues et appréciées par les populations et les gouvernements. Le Burkina Faso a déjà initié plusieurs cadres extra-nationaux sur la lutte contre les MGF et le dernier en date est la rencontre des premières dames d'Afrique de l'Ouest et centrale, présidée par Mme Chantal Compaoré, la première dame du Burkina, dont plusieurs d'entre vous connaissent l'implication sur cette question, et qui a permis d'aborder, entre autres, l'épineuse question de la pratique transnationale de l'excision et de voir quelles solutions idoines peuvent être trouvées. Un autre pont entre le Burkina et l'Europe, même si cela